lying to us. They're lying to us about what it means. They're lying to us about what's in it. And when we point out what's in it, then they have a lie around that. So I don't know. I just wish my friends, starting at the top left, middle of the top, would just stop lying all the time. Like, the God is not. There is no God. He didn't create the world, and he doesn't kill children. It's all just a made-up or weird cosplay fantasy. And the sooner you stop lying to yourself and others about it, the better your brain can clear up, it can heal. It's like it can stop with all the wounds that you're creating in your head, and you can just start to see the world as it is, which, by the way, is a pretty amazing, awesome place. It doesn't need child sacrifice to make it better. Anyway, I agree, Scott. The Democrats, if they want to win elections, they have to turn around two things: exporting jobs and importing Islam.
Well, what's interesting, though, Benjamin, then we'll move on to another speaker. But, the New York primary showed that, wow. You've got somebody that is pretty far left and a pretty explicit anti-Semite. Has called for the expansion of the global intifada, and he won a primary in the biggest city in the country. So, wow, I don't know what that means for the Democratic Party, but
yeah, the Democratic Party is probably going to lose in New York, which it should do. I would support them losing.
I don't know that he'll lose. I do not know that he'll lose in the general election. I do not know that.
We'll see. I certainly am not going to send him $1. Look, I don't want somebody who promotes a religion where if you leave that religion, you get killed. Making rules for other people. I just don't think that's not a good start. That's not a good start.
Benjamin, thank you as always. You're incredibly interesting, and I hope you get
gentle
to go.
And gentle.
You are. You're gentle and genteel. Let's go over to Ben. Ben, my dear friend, would you like a fresh five? Welcome to the stage. What's on your mind?
Hi, Scott. Hi, Steve, and everyone else in the room. I hope you guys are having a good weekend. What's on my mind? I think I just came in, so looking at the article, Supreme Court in Puerto Rico case limits judges' power to block. Yeah, I guess I'll say a few words about that. That's what we've been talking about for the past couple of days. Rather, past one day, basically. And also this, I guess I'll touch upon a little bit about the conversation you guys are having. I'll start by first saying I think you played the Bill Maher thing. I think what I want to say to that is politics. There's liberals, there's conservatives, Republicans, Democrats, whatever you have it. Basically, right now. It's kind of, politics and physics, they're different, but I think there's some similarities. When there's action, there's reaction. And the harder the action is, the harder the reaction is. So, in other words, I don't think politics can escape the laws of physics even in that regard. When one party goes to the extreme right, the other party tends to go to the extreme left. And I don't mean party, I mean voters, really. So in some ways, even though the left and the right, partisan-wise, they seems to be very, very different, if not the opposite. But I think they actually fulfill each other or complete each other. What I mean is this. I don't think it's just isolated event. Whenever you see a policy in one extreme, I think you're going to get to see a policy in another extreme, another political cycle. And that to me is really very unfortunate and even sad, actually.
Ben, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'll tell you who's in agreement with you here is John Meacham, who recently said on The Daily Show that he thinks President Donald Trump and his overreaching in actions will lead to the presidency of AOC or somebody in her.
Right, and absolutely. I was also I'm basically playing a shrink here, if you will, for fun in Uncle Steve's room. I can BS.
Well, you can be a shrink here because half the people in this room are crazy, so that's great.
No, I'm crazier. Please, if they're crazy, I'm crazier. But what I'm saying is that, during the last election cycle, right, in November, I have heard some of the reasons where moderates and even Democrat, they're like, we can't vote for Kamala Harris because of, we don't want this to be so politically woke. We don't like the policy of guys using girls' bathrooms. The some minorities are getting too many rights, etc., etc. We want it to be more fair, if you will, some more rational, reasonable. So certainly, there are some points that you don't like one particular candidate, right? So you naturally go to the other candidate. And I think what they failed to do was to look at the other candidate, which certainly does not advocate for some of the points that they do not like.
Where that foods can be cultural. Oh wow, you're going to be educated today. Yes, foods can be cultural, right? Just like you grow certain things, or if somebody was from Boston, like clam chowder and all that, you know what? That's a part of their culture. Were you not aware of that? It's still culture, right? Foods are culture. So, yeah, all of that, right? Even from the way that we did our hair during the summers, I would get my hair braided like a young Venus and Serena when they were first on the tennis circuit, right? So I would have the little beads in my hair, and that's something that we would do, right? So a lot of these things, even from like church clothes, right? Like everybody remembers wearing your church clothes on a Sunday. Even jumping the broom is part of Black culture. We're not even going to talk about the language of like the Gullah Geechee, who literally had their own Bible, right? In their own language in that part. Those are subcultures, by the way, Anthony. The Gullah Geechee, the Creole, those are subcultures of Black culture because they're subsets, not the main Black culture. Black culture is also me going into my stylist this morning like I did and giving her a hug and having a whole conversation about her families and me buying her.
At least in my circle, that's some of the problems that I'm seeing. And the New York, the Manhattan, Mandani, that's his name. I think it's a good example. It's sort of an example or evidence, sort of not proving, them pointing to my quote unquote little theory there. So what do we do here? I mean, again, I'll just say a few more words on this birthright thing. Not birthright, excuse me. This it's really about universal injunction. It's not about birthright. The case that came out yesterday. I think this case is another stone in the pathway, another paver in the pathway, starting from immunity, presidential immunity, starting from the BBB case where legislation where there's a little provision inserted in there about neither the budget nor the taxes, nothing about financial. It's about not having, basically limiting the power of federal courts to enforce its contempt of order decisions. So it's basically giving the executive branch more and more leeway in a way that by setting up blocks or difficulty for individuals, other parties to challenge executive branch powers. So we're really pushing change. We're in a situation where the three-branch government system, it's not quite equal three-branch in some ways. It's basically expanding the power of the executive branch more and more. Again, the MAGA individuals absolutely love this because they can see, oh wow, our dear old president can execute its policies without the problematic, stupid judges in his way, so that we can deport people, violent illegal immigrants, now illegal immigrants, and now immigrants and who's to know? Maybe even terrible citizens, like that we hate.
Just 30 seconds there, Ben, and wrap it up.
Sure. So I think this is sort of a good thing for them, right? But just remember, going back to my physics analogy, the Democrats might be in power. The Mr. Mandani might be in power. AOC might be in power. It's not a zero possibility. If one action is so strong, then the reaction will go the other way, right? So that to me is really not something I think that represents American democracy or even the American exceptionalism. It's in my view at least, it's not so much the power of the missiles that represent the American exceptionalists, because those things can be had by other countries, at least 10 other countries in the world. But this checks and balance, this constitution thing, to me, that is the American exceptionalism. And that's something certainly I would like to keep, or I would want to see not weakened or even given up.
Well, I think we can all agree on that one. Thank you, Ben. Chock full of great thoughts and opinions. I'm going to go now to my good friend Les. Les, would you like a fresh fry?
Why, thank you. On this topic, I think Mandani basically he was running against Cuomo, who was damaged goods, and Mandani didn't get very many black votes, and
I'm guessing he's not getting a lot of Seder invitations either.
No, he doesn't. He has never. He was asked if he wants a one state solution in the Middle East, and that is Hamas. But and Israel's out of the picture there. By the way, and in terms of the powers, I definitely agree that the executive is getting too many powers, especially compared to what was envisioned when we first had the Constitution. Interestingly enough, what happened was that someone brought up a Democrat brought up in the Senate, having forcing any new thing happening in Iran, attack on Iran, having to go to the Senate, and the Senate did vote on it, saying no. So in a sense, they did have a chance, they did have the constitutional power, and they turned it down to micromanage what was happening in Iran. The big thing on my mind, though, right now is, attempts to eliminate the bomb, Iran having the bomb. And I'm just thinking if the Democratic candidate had won last time, they would have dithered. And basically the Iranians eventually would get the bomb, and that would be a big disaster for everybody. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Les. And I think we can all agree that Iranian, whatever we think about the strikes on Iran, that Iran having a bomb is not good news for the free world. And now I want to go to my dear friend, just the darling of the sun of Arizona. What's that? Arizona's not the Sunshine State. I forget what state that is. Dr. Francine, what is the moniker for your state, and would you like a fresh?
Sure, I'll take it. Arizona is not the Sunshine State. That's Florida. But we do have quite a bit of sunshine. And what state is Arizona? That is a very good question. It's the last of the 48 states that come into the Union. My feeling about all this stuff about Iran and having a bomb is that is a bridge to cross when we come. They don't have a bomb now. They want to have a bomb in the future. They are a sovereign state or country, and they have been for like, if you talk to an Iranian, they'll tell you 2,200 years. And so, of course, they think that this Israel and Hamas stuff is nouveau or Arabist or whatever you want to call it. And I guess we keep trying to predict the future on very little information. And, we're right in the middle of a technological revolution right now with artificial intelligence. What if the coming takeover of artificial intelligence, or if it takes over, makes such a big difference that this whole conversation is irrelevant in 5 years? So we're like spending so much time and effort on it now, and it may just go away.
You're saying that, how would AI, that's a good, interesting point, how would AI make weapons of mass destruction in Iran irrelevant? That's interesting, Doctor.
It might make weapons of mass destruction irrelevant. Something else might, come up to replace the nation state. I have long believed that the nation state was out of date. It's a historical artifact, but I know that it will get me into an argument that I don't have the chops to get into.
Well, Dr. Francine, look, I'm a Star Trek fan, and they certainly didn't have nation states in Star Trek.
Well, that's the point. And for a long time, I have felt that nation states were obsolete.
Can I echo that? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, one mic at a time.
You can after I do the bottom of the hour, Scott. You want to finish up?
All right, Dr. Francine. All right, we're going to hand the football back to your favorite atheist, Uncle Steve.
There you go. Before I do the housekeeping, Arizona is the Grand Canyon state. But that being said, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Ask Uncle Steve. With the Mod Squad, I have assembled the best Mod Squad in the history of Clubhouse. They have a wide variety of fields of knowledge and expertise. We've got 30 minutes left. So if you haven't come up yet, this is the time to raise your hand. Be bold, brave, courageous. Come on up to the stage, and you too can have a fresh five. And by the way, if you are bold, brave, and courageous, but you don't know what you want to talk about, this is what I refer to as the best 2 minutes on Clubhouse.
Tonight, breaking news, the major Supreme Court ruling strengthening the president's hand involving birthright citizenship. The severe storms as we come on the air, hundreds of flights canceled in the Northeast, and the suspected shark bite at a popular New York beach. First, the U.S. Supreme Court in a 6-3 decision along ideological lines, allowing President Trump to move forward with his plans to change birthright citizenship, ruling that federal judges cannot put nationwide blocks on his executive orders. The president calling it a giant win, and what it means for the rest of his sweeping agenda. And the High Court's other major rulings tonight on parents' rights, Obamacare, and more. The severe weather watch tonight, storms heading east, flash flooding in West Virginia. Officials say 5 inches of rain in less than an hour. The massive highway backup, where the temperatures are surging again tonight. And how a 76-year-old Florida woman survived after her home was lifted, then slammed back down by a tornado. Lee Goldberg with the forecast. A possible shark bite at a popular New York beach. A woman standing in waist-high water, the lacerations on her leg and foot. This video showing a different baby shark on the same beach the same day. Breaking news, one of the last fugitives who broke out of a New Orleans jail more than 6 weeks ago, captured late today. What we've just learned. The defense delivering its closing argument in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. saying the case is not about sex trafficking or racketeering, but a great modern love story and a music mogul's swinger lifestyle. The president of the University of Virginia resigning today under pressure amid an investigation by the Trump administration into the school's DEI efforts. The mystery solved, what we've learned about that fireball streaking across several southern states. And America Strong tonight, the Jeopardy contestant and the game-winning clue that fans are calling the most amazing coincidence in the history of Jeopardy.
And, of course, I pinned at the top the Jumbotron about the ruling from the Supreme Court, which really doesn't address the issue at all. The Supremes punted because they didn't address the issue of birthright citizenship. So I'll talk about that for a minute. It is, as I stated at the very start of the show, anybody who was born on American soil or under the jurisdiction of the United States is an American citizen. There's been talk for a couple of decades about children that are born here from undocumented immigrants or people literally that just come across the border to have a child, to make that child an American citizen, okay? And that's what Trump's executive order is attempting to prohibit. Now, we, the American citizens of this country, or our legislature, has the ability to amend the United States Constitution. And if the American people want to do that, or the legislature wants to do that, all they have to do is pass an amendment. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that's subject to judicial review. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. You pass an amendment to the Constitution, even if it's arguably unconstitutional. I think that is the law of the land. So if we really want to change the Constitution, that's the way to do it. That being said, this is not the first we're going to hear of this, because we are going to see the administrative branch starting, this is my crystal ball now, starting to deport legally American citizens, even if they're babies, because they were born here, but they don't have one parent that's an American citizen. This issue will come up again. In my mind, at this point in time, it's clearly, unequivocally, 100% black and white, no gray. Any child that is born here is an American citizen. Period. End of story. Executive order or not. And there have been prior rulings by the Supreme Court that address this issue. If I'm not mistaken, a child born here of immigrant where one parent is not an American citizen, and the Supreme Court has ruled time and time again that that child under the Constitution is still an American citizen. So I say, if you want to change the law, you don't do this law by executive order. You do it by an amendment to the Constitution. Let's see, nobody is new on stage, so let's
comment on that, Benjamin.
Well, we'll let you comment in turn. Go ahead and come on mute, and we'll go to you. Let's go to Reverend Scott. Reverend Scott, thanks for holding down the fort, as John would say, managing the jalopy. Would you like to comment?
Yeah, I mean, look, this was decided in a Supreme Court case, right, in the 1890s, right, birthright citizenship. The Constitution, that people, that someone born here, two parents who were not born here,
yeah,
and are not citizens, is a citizen. So, I mean, I guess what we would need is an authoritative interpretation of the Constitution that overturned that decision in the 1890s. There was a Chinese American man whose parents were from China and California, as I recall. So, I mean, I think you would have to either have a law or you'd have to reverse that interpretation, which has been the authoritative interpretation since the 1890s.
Wong came up.
Hang on. We've got Romance is new, and I think El Normo is new also. If anybody new wants to come up, we encourage you to do so. Romance, you get a fresh five. Good morning. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, how you doing? I did have a question. I'm not a legal scholar, but you guys might be able to answer it. I worked for a company that was kind of disreputable, and they would do things kind of like President Trump is doing. Like they would do something they know is wrong and illegal first, and then once you win in court, they said, "Oh, our bad." So if he does start deporting legal citizens to like who knows where, and they say, "Oh, that was illegal," what happens to those people? Like I know the one guy they said, "Oh, we can't get him back." So what if they deport like 500,000 legal citizens, and then the court finally rules, "No, you can't do that. You got to bring them back," and he says, "Too bad."
Thanks, Amazon.
Well, the remedy for people against Donald Trump is impeachment. Now that does not apply to other people in the administration, in the administrative branch, such as his cabinet members, etc. But the only remedy that I'm aware of right now is impeachment.
Yeah, but would that bring those people back when it's like
impeachment would not bring that person back? You'd have to do more than that to bring that person back or those people back. Are you good for now, or did you want to talk more, or are you good?
No, I didn't know if anybody wanted to discuss that part, bringing people back after they've been basically sent somewhere and gone.
Well, if anybody wants to do that, take a scratch piece of paper, make a note, and we will come around to you, because everybody on stage gets to speak before the show ends. Let's go to El Normo. El Normo, good morning. Welcome back to Ask Uncle Steve and the Mod Squad. You get starting right now. A Fresh Five.
Well, good morning, Uncle Steve, and let me just thank you for my Fresh Five.
You're welcome.
So, I couldn't tell from your tone if you thought I overdid that, but probably not.
No, I don't think you overdid it.
Okay. Well, thank you for the feedback. So this is an interesting ruling because the first time I heard about his plans to reverse the stare decisis, or to violate stare decisis, which for those of you playing along at home, that means precedent, because there are a number of decisions that have supported the interpretation of the 14th Amendment to include people from other countries. The first time I heard about his intention, I thought, well, the language is pretty clear, and there's no way the Supreme Court would either violate the Constitution, as many feel that he's doing, or violate, at the very least, stare decisis, which is kind of the same thing.
Which is why their decision does not affect his executive order. Please continue.
Agree again. Good, and a good point. Their decision really pertains to nationwide injunction. So that's, in a sense, what we should be
basically, and I know I'm interrupting you, but I think
okay.
the point, basically, it weakens and lessens the power of federal judges to only rule on the plaintiffs in their case, which does not affect the entire nation. Please continue.
Right. Or it strengthens the case against that, which it's the same thing. In other words, if and I noticed in a hearing yesterday that 5 federal courts have issued 35 of, I don't know what, 50 or 60.
Something like that, right?
Yeah, of the total number of nationwide injunctions. So that if Joe Conservative in, I don't know what, Alabama, doesn't like something, say, that a liberal president does, if you think Biden was liberal, at least he was a Democrat, they could block that order for the entire nation.
A better way to describe it, if I may, is when Donald Trump or any president makes an executive order that affects everybody in the country, and a federal judge goes to either stay that order, or I forgot what the term is, that stay does not apply to everybody in the country. It only applies to the litigants in that particular case. That's what this Supreme Court order says. Please continue.
Yeah, and of course I agree, and I think it's interesting. There are arguments to be made on both sides because, let's see, against that decision, one could say that it weakens checks and balances, the ability of the judiciary to put a check on the executive branch.
I completely agree, which is why I'm totally against the decision, but please continue.
Yeah, and I noticed in the chat, by the way, somebody asked what's the administrative state, and in answer to that, it's the sort of permanent, some conspiracy types have called it the deep state. It's a permanent part of the executive branch that remains in place regardless of the administration. So whether there's Biden in the White House or Trump, the administrative state, which does actually issue regulations, Steve, you probably know this pretty well as well, it's permanent. And interestingly, the permanent administrative branch under the executive worked against Trump in his first term, so he's a learner. I'll give him that. And
that's why he brought in people in this administration that arguably are not qualified, or clearly there are many people that are more qualified than the people he brought in, because he knew they would be, lack of better words, yes men. Please continue.
Or sycophants.
Okay.
For you, now I'm playing back, and we're doing stick together here. We're doing whatever comedy team.
Well, we're being entertaining as well as educational. Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Which is what it's all about.
Which is what the show is all about, to be educational and entertaining. Because, and it was said earlier, what helps educate people, or what's the best way to convince people that maybe they're not going down the right path? Education. How do you get you make learning fun. Please continue, Norm.
Which was one of my default modes when I was a New York City school teacher, and then later a New York City professor, college professor, at the undergrad and graduate level. That aside, if you are suggesting, Uncle Steve, that Fox News hosts are not appropriate members of his cabinet, I gotta laugh just to even consider.
By the way, did you hear about and Reverend Scott brought this to my attention, the $787 million lawsuit from Governor Newsom against Fox News?
No, I didn't.
I think I hit that amount right within $10 million.
But they say was there a judgment?
No. It was just filed yesterday. It was for Reverend Scott. Was it for libel?
Defamation.
Yeah.
Did Fox suggest that he wasn't to anthem or something?
I tell you what, Reverend Scott, hopefully you can do the heavy lifting, just post it in the group chat. Anybody else can look it up on Google. The lawsuit was filed within the past 48 hours.
In any event, I was kidding about my question, obviously.
Right.
So, to suggest that we're not in clown time, I think would be difficult to really, and I don't think anybody could suggest that we're not in clown time right now. Although I should point out that I thought we were in clown time in the first Clump.
Actually, Biden called Trump a clown in not the last debate, but the one before that. Called him clown.
Yeah, and he is a bit of a clown. He doesn't even mind. I think Trump doesn't mind being a clown sometimes.
He's also a liar and a bullshitter. We were talking about that earlier.
That seems redundant. But
you must have missed that part of the show. It was hour number 2.
And he's got some funny dance moves, and he likes to fly B-2 bombers, apparently, at least send them on flights. First time the United States has...
and he likes to sexually assault women in the changing clothes of major department stores,
Well, as maybe you forgot, but I know, I have to remember her name. E. Jean Carroll. I know her personally. I've known her for decades, and she used to brag about that rendezvous. So I don't know if I'd agree with that characterization, but be that as it may.
I'm just reporting what the jury came back with and the jury's findings, that's all.
Yeah, in a civil case, awarding her money, not
for sexual assault, for being sexually assaulted in the changing room of a major department store.
Yeah, based on...
I didn't say I agreed with the decision. I'm just reporting the facts in an educational manner, that's all.
It's very educational. I just want to make clear that he has not been accused of any criminality.
You mean he hasn't been accused?
Yeah.
You said she.
In that regard.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, maybe I slurred. He has not, and this case was funded by Reid Hoffman, if I'm correct.
And unfortunately, we have to end our shtick, so I'm going to go on mute and give you a few more minutes. That's going to give you about a fresh 10. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, nice. So, I'm interested that he hit Iran. I think Iran needed to be hit right in the nuclear facility where it smarts, and I'm immeasurably proud of Israel's victory in a seven-front war, first hitting the tentacles of the octopus, the Houthis, the Hezbollah, the Hamas, Iraq, Shia missile launchers. I don't know if I'm forgetting anybody, some of the terrorists on the West Bank. And finally, the head of the octopus, which I think now has been disabled. A sneak preview, people are now a little bit concerned about the role of Turkey in the region. You know, you smack down one terrorist and another head pops up, but that's down the road. Turkey is a member of NATO, and for now at least is an ally of the United States. And so they're unlikely to be a threat in the near future. So I feel great about the end of the war and the minimal damage, fewer than 30 souls lost in Israel, including 5 Arabs, and a few buildings hit, not many, and the massive intelligence and military campaign conducted by Israel and the United States. And I'm looking forward to increasing peace in the region, more countries joining the Abraham Accords, more business, and more prosperity for everybody. And I'm looking forward to a more pleasant few months in America going forward. So I hope we get that. And thanks for the time.
Thank you, Norm. First class escort to the VIP. Thank you very much. Let's go to Romance. Romance, you get a fresh 5. Good morning. Welcome to the show. What would you like to talk about? Romance, going once. Hey.
I already did VIP before.
Would you like to say goodbye, or are you good?
Yes.
I'm good.
Romance, you're good. Okay, hey, thank you. You got it. Thank you very much. First class escort, VIP. Let's go to Chase. Chase, would you like to say goodbye?
Adios. Peace out, Leia.
Absolutely, thank you. And first class escort to the VIP. Christian, would you like to say goodbye?
Yeah, goodbye, everybody. Have a safe and blessed day. Got my show after this. Come check it out if you'd like to.
That's right. After my show, please, everybody, join Christian for Ask the Autistic, first class escort to the VIP. Dr. Francine from the Grand Canyon State. Would you like to say goodbye?
Thank you for reminding me it was the Grand Canyon State.
It's my pleasure, Dr. Francine.
This is my goodbye.
Thank you, Dr. Francine. First class escort to the VIP. Les, would you like to say goodbye?
Bye now.
Thank you, Les. Short and sweet and to the point. Ben, would you like to say goodbye?
I would, except I was gonna comment something Dr. Francine said.
Well, I mean, you can take a minute or two to say goodbye however you want.
Sure. By the way, speaking of the Grand Canyon State, I think another name for Arizona was Baby State, because it was the newest continental state that joined the Union. So on that, Uncle Steve and maybe Dr. Francine and others, I wonder if it'd be interesting to talk about what was the USA like in 1911 or 12 before Arizona joined? Because that seems to be that
it was 7 years away from the Spanish flu.
So okay, got it.
That's what it was like.
What I was saying is that so that would mean that there were 47 states or whatever that were in the United States, plus Arizona. Meaning Arizona is just like this floating balloon on the continent, the land of America, North America, well, at least where USA is. And by asking that, I'm actually curious as to how things worked. Was it one state, one territory, Arizona, whatever the reservations around that area, plus the United States of America? If that were the case, right? So maybe it's not hard to imagine, perhaps if things going the way they are, maybe California, Governor Newsom or whoever the next governor will be, maybe we'll have a possibility that California is going to be the new Arizona plus the 49 states or 47 states that are remaining in the United States. If Trump keeps sending, Marines, maybe now the Air Force next to enforce what he considers a lawless state order or something like that. Anyway, something to think about. How would we envision that particular situation exist with obviously a ridiculous thought of having one state succeed from the Union and bring us back to 1911 or prior. Anyway, so that's sort of my thought on a point of discussion. Again, it's very ridiculous.
Okay, this is the Ben Show, Deep State Trump Derangement Syndrome.
It could be an interesting exercise to see how things survive.
Thank you, Ben. First class escort to the VIP. Ben, we go from Ben to Benjamin. Benjamin, would you like to say goodbye?
Of course,
Benjamin,
I would like to say goodbye, and I would like to request 2 first class escorts.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I want to say, if you have a religion that threatens people, kills people, if you leave that religion, if there's a rule that if you leave the religion you should be killed, that you should probably lose your religion. But I wanted to read out of the good book, the Word of God, words written by the good prophet Moses, Deuteronomy 13, verse 6. If your brother, the son, or your mother, your son, or your daughter, the wife of your bosom, or your friend who is as your soul, secretly entices you.
Jesus. Bro, look, we don't need to hear all. Just answer the questions, bro. Tell me.
You're not going to dictate anything to me, JC. Hold on one second. That's Tom. I'm going to be honest with you. Hey, yo, JB, I'm going to be honest with you. I love it. But I got to be honest with you, JB. What I just witnessed was Anthony dodged the question. Now, I got to keep it real with you. Should we give a question? Hold on one second. Hold on one second, John. Hold on one second. Oh, I got you, brother. Put a 1 in the box if you think we need to give him 2 minutes on the clock, yo. Hold on one second. Anthony, hold on one second.
No, King.
Let me control the crowd. Hold on a second,
King. No, you said that I dodged.
Brother, what question did I dodge? What question did I dodge? Your brother asked you a question. And you asked the question, King. You said the ground rules. No, you asked the question. You set the ground rules. He tried to change the ground rules.
Everybody, hold on. Anthony, hold on, bro. Why don't we do this? Hold on, Anthony. Why don't we ask JT to repeat the question and give Anthony a minute to respond? What do you think, King?
Absolutely.
That'd be great. You don't want to answer it, though. That's the real problem.
I'm not Nigerian. He asked me about Nigeria.
I never said that you was a Nigerian.
You asked me about Nigeria.
Listen to what I said. Listen, I'll repeat it again, okay? Let me just repeat it again. I said, since you won't acknowledge your own culture, the culture by which your parents had when they fled over to America, since you are trying to hide that from us. Wait. The one culture that you did acknowledge as having a legitimate culture was Nigeria. True or false?
I've acknowledged multiple.
You acknowledge that they was. Okay. Perfect.
What are you talking about?
So, with all those cultures being said, I want to center it on one culture. Since you're a melanated person, right? We're talking about melanated people.
Let's deal with Nigerian. So you can't. I'm not centering jack shit on Nigeria. I'm not Nigerian.
No, you legitimized the Nigerian culture. You did that.
I legitimized multiple cultures.
So he's not going. He doesn't want to. He won't want to have a spade, guys. You hear Jamal? You hear?
Okay, guys, that's time.
Yo, Jamal, man, listen.
That's time, y'all. Hold on.
You got Yo, Jamal,
hey, yo, you see why I did that,
about jail culture, Jamal.
Hold on a second. Tell us about Jamal, hold on a second.
That's what you can tell me about.
That's what I can tell you about. Hey, yo,
about $1 a week that I've been. $500 a week is money, man.
Hold on, everybody. Jamal, hold on a second. Hold on, Jamal. Yeah, I'm going to tell you what I noticed. This might trigger some people. Please don't come off your mic. Mods, if somebody comes off the mic, just move them down. I don't care who it is. Anthony didn't want to answer the question. He tap danced around it. That's just what I heard. And Anthony, you grabbed the lowest hanging fruit about Jamal knowing prison experience. What about me? You want to bring that to me? Because I know about prison experience. I'll talk on it all day. Stop deflecting. Stop tap dancing around the questions. You like to bring the smoke, but you don't like to get the smoke. And that's a fact. Patient, hold on. I'm going to move you down because I said anybody comes off mic, they get moved down. You're entitled to your opinion where you're not entitled to be disrespectful to the space. Because we've been having this conversation for about 5 hours, and it's been going pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it back to King because I don't know if he was done with that. Guys, I'm going to tell you this now. Anybody using the N-word, I don't care who they are, they get moved off the stage. Let's respect the space. Getting back to you.
Yo, yeah, I was gonna say, JB, I'll be honest with you, I thought it was gonna be good, but I noticed my brother Anthony kind of tap dance around that. I think JT got that. But to the audience, if you want to give them another 2 minutes, please put a 1 in the box.
I'm not giving.
Hold on a second.
I'm done. Brother, I'm done. I'm just saying that there's no need for the audience to speak. I'm done. I'm telling you, I'm done, King. The game is rigged. I'm not playing your game.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second, y'all. Let me tell you something. Your brother said it was no black culture. Your brother JT came in swinging. Asked him a question, the brother danced around it. Now he has no decorum. Look at this brother. Look at his ignorance. Look how he gets upset because the brother JT cooked him, souffled him, put the seasoning on him. Shout out to black culture. This is what I'm talking about. And that's why I wanted to do that. Thank you, Anthony, for showing your hand. And thank you, JT, for participating. And shout out to the brother Anthony, too. Back to you.
Already, King. Appreciate that, Doc.
Can I answer the question?
You can hold on a second.
Hold
on a second. Listen. Okay. Great, Mr. Makerball. Hold on a second. Because we have Richard White on stage, who I'm going to go to next, and then I'm going to go to I.A. Lewis. And I want to say to my lady mods, ladies, anytime you want to jump in, you're a mod, be my guest, Chaotic, Lisa, New York. I got you, Kiki. I know your voice very well. Richard, how you doing? Good afternoon, sir.
Yes. I was thinking as I hear, especially, I appreciate the question always, but when I hear, I know in all of our different views, one thing that I find that is interesting about us, and specifically Black Americans, when we are raised about, the question about Black culture comes up, and regardless of how it comes up, we never talk about the political culture. We never talk about the belief system that Black, quote unquote, Black Americans have developed. We talk about behavior, and I like to, in my arrogance and ignorance, like to ask us to raise that sometimes, because don't we have a political culture? Isn't our political culture primarily been revolutionary in America? I mean, when I say political and I say revolutionary, isn't it based off a series of beliefs that as America was designed, it was either for some incomplete or incorrect, and that we actually then created behaviors like petitioning, like demonstrating, like
let's do a Tanya study.
In order to change the fundamental structure. Isn't that a part of Black political culture that is specific to Black Americans?
Let's do a 10 minute
and I wonder why we don't do that.
rating.
Why are we talking about social?
Let's do a 10-minute Tanya rating.
You know, compared to, if you want to call exemplar, because it wasn't the whole thing of anti-slavery as a political ideal in the American structure, a structure, not just some movement. I mean, being able to continue to say about anti-slavery or to continue to deal with citizenship rights, aren't they a part of a series of beliefs, ideals, and behaviors that are uniquely specific to Black Americans? So why don't we? And I'll stop here. It's because, in my arrogance, it is.
They were convicted and they effectively admitted to the fact that they had performed. There is no proof that anybody. As first America art. Military action. I was trying to see how, but if he's leading, if y'all don't, then there's going to be consequences. Then I mean that's already on the table off top. Which it's about 3,000 per day right now is the average. We're 100. It's just what I'm. So, the Black culture is absorbs everything around.
My friend? Uh-oh.
You know, that's why we eat fish on Fridays.
Wasn't talking about
and so forth and so on. We don't have anything that's specific to us that we brought with us from the homeland. Like it used to be a time that, you know, when you got sick, great-great-grandma could go out and get some weeds out the ground and some bushes and make some tea and you would feel better. We don't have that anymore. So the Black culture is an American culture and is absorbing of Americanness. So that's why it's unique to America. Because the way the Blacks in America act, we act no different, or we act uniquely amongst ourselves as opposed to other melanated people throughout the country, throughout the world. So the culture, I guess we could call it culture. It's nothing that's unique of our own. It's just what the experiences have. The experiences that we have went through has made a certain, I guess you could say it is a Black culture that's unique to our own. Nowhere else in the world. So that's my submission.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Jamal, hold on. I got you. I just got to say something real quick. King, CEO, Lisa, I got to bounce in a few, but you guys are more than welcome to keep the room open. Jamal's been patiently waiting, so let me go to Jamal. Jamal, go ahead, man. And then Haitian, then Sweet.
I
I start to really think and go a little deeper with my thoughts, and I say, well, how many hundreds of years does it take to create culture? I mean, we know we've been here for 500 years. I don't know what 1,000 years is, but we've been on this land half of 1,000 years at least. And so, how many years does it take to create culture? Not only that, we work this land. Rice, wheat, tobacco, cotton. We worked the land and settled the land that our feet are under right now. I drive across this country and we've settled this land. I don't know how many years it takes to create culture. If we don't have a culture, if you can't define the things and the attributes and the qualities that we have given to society here in America and all over the planet, if you can't describe in the last 500 years, we were just saying Anthony was tap dancing. But the reality of it is we created that. That's an art form that we created in dance. So how would it be any different than ballet? So I'm scratching my head and I'm trying to figure out, we act like we just popped up on this motherfucker last week. Yes, we have a culture. Yes, we have a culture. Not only do we have a culture, we have the most unique culture on the planet Earth because we took what was forced upon us as a people by musket and arms. We took that and turned it into lemonade. Well, lemonade was created by us too, so I guess that's part of our culture too. And we made peanut butter sandwiches out of it. Now, hold on, let me scratch my head for a minute. Well, we created peanut butter, so I guess that's a part of our culture too. So how dare you, Anchor Baby, speak upon my culture when you can't name 5 things that your culture has created that could surpass the things that we have taken from a negative experience on the planet Earth and turned it into good and started head spinning on it. And we created that too. Head spinning and windmilling. And now they give gold medals for that. So how the hell could you say that we don't have a culture? Shame on you. I land my mic.
Thank you, Jamal. Hold on. I'm gonna go to Haitian. I gotta get a new cue because people keep moving around. Sweet, I got you, I promise. I'm gonna go Haitian, Akima, then Sweet. Haitian, go ahead. Yeah, I got you, HK. You go after Sweet.
So JT's question was so easy. It was like a gift, right? Because he said Nigerians. Of all the black people, right, to ask about Nigerians, come on, man. Like, they have results, right? In reality, man. Like, look at their culture. It's filled with beneficial values, right? I mean, from respect to the elders and their ancestors, they don't use the N-word, right? That's food for thought. That's how much they have respect, right, for the ancestral story, right? Like, why would they use the same word that the white people use to kill black people as a word of endearment? See, this is what I'm saying. Like, whoa, brother, calm down. I know you.
Name a Nigerian dance.
Wait, hold on, man. Come on, brother. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Don't worry. I'm gonna cut your head off and cut your knees off. Right? Hard work. Right? When it comes to hard work and hustle, man, shit. You've met somebody more focused on their money that's black than a Nigerian? They going to school for 20 years to get a fucking higher degree, right? Like, that's not some shit that blacks in America who have been here really prop up, not in 2025. No, probably back in the days, right? I give it to you, back in the days, y'all was all that But nah, man, shit, y'all ain't trying to do that, all that, going to school and shit. Y'all know y'all ain't. Y'all trying to take a break. Y'all hold on, wait. Shoot his anchor baby. Wait, y'all trying to take his ass to the border.
And take this anchor baby to the border.
Jamal, hey yo, Jamal, respectfully, he didn't interrupt you, bro. Go let him land, bro. Who next?
Yeah, don't come off the mic and when people are speaking. We've already said that. Hey, before we go to the next person, I know Sweet was in the queue and somebody else is in the queue.
I think I was next.
Yeah, Hakeem is next. Look at
I've been next many times, but I'm after Hakeem supposedly.
Okay, Sweet. Hey, let me just say this really quick, man. I don't know if the people that were on the stage heard me earlier. This has been a really productive and positive conversation for the most part. I know we centered part of it around Anthony, but I think he represents a mindset that we need to address culturally for all people, not just black, not just, African American, but American, just culture and humanity in general. We need to address those mindsets. But I just want to go back to the academic point that I still think gets lost in here. When we say or have conversations about black culture or racism or systemic racism, and people come on and say it doesn't exist, or they start talking about who's degenerate, that's not the conversation that is being argued or litigated, because black exists, culture exists, therefore black culture has to exist. The barometer for what's considered culture or community is not some super high bar to reach, right? There's cultures, they have a Frisbee culture, because my daughter was a captain of the ultimate Frisbee team at her school. I don't know, it sounds suburban, it is, but that's a whole other thing. So what I'm saying is, to sit on the stage and we argue and feel like we have to defend our self-identity and give a long history of who we are, it speaks to how our brand is literally subjugated, oppressed, and discriminated against. This is to some extent indicative of the racist attitudes of America, that people can deny that black culture exists, almost as if black people aren't a thing, right? So I just want to be, just temper the room to say, when people ask, does black culture exist or does Nigerian culture exist, they're really saying something different than just run down the history, tell me what dances you started, who started jazz, and all of that kind of stuff. Those are great history, and I think this conversation has been beautiful, and I've learned so much from so many people. But what we're saying is that black is an ambiguous term. It really is. So they're basically arguing to me nationalist tropes that are anti-black, but they don't understand how it got into their mentality. So I'll close by saying this. Just to know that when we're having this conversation, it's more a linguistic conversation where we need to do better as a culture, as an American culture, as a subgroup of cultures, is making sure that we never let anybody deny the reality of black culture and let them deny our existence. We know the history of slavery. And when we're talking black culture, I think a better response is that, hey, look, guys, black is still being defined because cultures evolve or whatever. I'll leave it there. I don't want to go into it, man. But it just, first we get in this room and have these antagonists come in and say there is no black culture. Now we got to spend 5 hours defending and talking about what we did and why we're valuable and stuff like that. We got to stop having to do that.
So, liberty stirs once more in the womb of time.
I'm going to give you your flowers. Like you said, I don't know you. You don't know me. We may not ever see each other, but when you die, at least I gave you flowers.
Wait, I want to give you a flower.
I love you, John. Stay amazing. I gotta go.
Wait, you gotta listen to the next step before you go.
No, you got me horny, bro. I'm about to go play. Like I gotta jack off.
Okay, this is the next step. It says democracy dodders, ferocious fascism, cackling communism, equally frauds, cavort crazily all over the globe. They are hemming us in. They are abortive births of the child, the new eon of Horus. Liberty stirs once more in the womb of time. Evolution makes its changes by anti-socialistic ways. The abnormal man who foresees the trend of the times and adapts circumstance intelligently is laughed at, persecuted, often destroyed by the herd. But he and his heirs, when the crisis comes, are survivors. Above us today hangs a danger never yet paralleled in history. We suppress the individual in more and more ways. We think in terms of the herd. War no longer kills soldiers, it kills all indiscriminately. Every new measure of the most democratic and autocratic governments is communistic in essence. It is always restriction. We are all treated as imbecile children. DORA, the Shops Act, the motoring laws, Sunday suffocation, the censorship. They won't trust us to cross the roads at will. Fascism is like communism, and dishonest into the bargain. The dictators suppress all art, literature, theater, music, news that does not meet their requirements. Yet the world only moves by the light of genius. The herd will be destroyed in mass. The establishment of the law of Thelema is the only way to preserve individual liberty and to assure the future of the race. In the words of the famous paradox of the Comte de Phoenix, the absolute rule of the state shall be a function of the absolute liberty of each individual will. All men and women are invited to cooperate with the Master Therion in this, the great work. Om. 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 Okay, this is the next step. It says Okay, this is the next step. It says democracy dodders, ferocious fascism, cackling communism, equally frauds, cavort crazily all over the globe. They are hemming us in. They are abortive births of the child, the new eon of Horus. Liberty stirs once more in the womb of time. Evolution makes its changes by anti-socialistic ways. The abnormal man who foresees the trend of the times and adapts circumstance intelligently is laughed at, persecuted, often destroyed by the herd. But he and his heirs, when the crisis comes, are survivors. Above us today hangs a danger never yet paralleled in history. We suppress the individual in and more ways. We think in terms of the herd. War no longer kills soldiers, it kills all indiscriminately. Every new measure of the most democratic and autocratic governments is communistic in essence. It is always restriction. We are all treated as imbecile children. DORA, the Shops Act, the motoring laws, Sunday suffocation, the censorship. They won't trust us to cross the roads at will. Fascism is like communism, and dishonest into the bargain. The dictators suppress all art, literature, theater, music, news that does not meet their requirements. Yet the world only moves by the light of genius. The herd will be destroyed in mass. The establishment of the law of Thelema is the only way to preserve individual liberty and to assure the future of the race. In the words of the famous paradox of the Comte de Phoenix, the absolute rule of the state shall be a function of the absolute liberty of each individual will. All men and women are invited to cooperate with the Master Therion in this, the great work. Okay, this is the next step. It says democracy dodders, ferocious fascism, cackling communism, equally fascism, cackling Okay, this is the next step. It says democracy.
Jack off.